All right, well, now we're live. Welcome everyone to 2018. It's good to be back here. It's been a while since we have a big group of people today, which is good. So we have me, Ven, Stan, Crow, Lex, and Dr. Manhattan.
What up?
Hello.
Hey.
Yo.
Happy New Year's, motherfucker.
Yep, it's had a good 2017. So hopefully we'll have a good 2018. So I didn't have anything in particular to talk about today, so it's pretty much a free-for-all. Talk about what you thought is 2017, what you think looking ahead at 2018, or how things look right now, whatever.
As far as my 2017, like in terms of like what went on in the world, holy fuck, it was weird. And so was my life, because I was like, hey, lots of cool stuff's happening, and the rug isn't being pulled out from under me. So there's that.
Yeah.
You jinxed it.
I did. I just jinxed it. I did.
Right? You are about to have just a horrible year, and you can put it right down to that moment.
Well, I'm still expecting it to happen anyway. So if it does happen, I'll just be like, there it is. I'm not even like,
You're not actually expecting good things. You're just pretending.
I'm still waiting for like some random ass rattlesnake to bite me on the foot and like I have to chop off a leg or something. I don't know.
I don't think that's how rattlesnake venom works.
I don't know how it works either. I'm just fucking go with it too.
I'm just gonna like, for anyone out there watching and everyone in this chat, amputation, not the first recourse you want to go to for snake bites or spider bites in general. Okay, it's extreme. It creates its own problems.
All right, so that's just a really blanket statement for my last year and whatnot. So how is everybody else's 2017, all things considered?
A whirlwind. Good
I
and
like
bad.
it.
Good and bad, whatever. You know, I just thought that I didn't realize that Stan had changed his profile picture. I thought he was just practicing being a really good statue.
Oh.
No, where I normally am set up at my desk, I don't have a lot of light, so it would be very, very dark. So I just decided just to keep the.
That's what Minding Freedom says. That's a Minding Freedom excuse. I told him to buy a lamp, and he's like, "No, it doesn't work."
Where is that motherfucker?
In some kind of badger hole somewhere in Germany.
Get out of the badger hole, you bastard!
He's trying to protect himself from the crowd apocalypse.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that hole. So that hole was like, this is like, we haven't done an episode like really with any of that, and then it like now like leads into the Spencer Sargon sticks, and I guess like everyone in the universe that piled into that chat. But the last month, we saw this huge transformation of YouTube from like, well, we have this skeptic community TM type thing, and it's a big meme, and we all talk about it, but there's definitely like these camps inside of it. Now it's just like, oh yeah, one side totally fucking excommunicated. Like they're all gone and out of what anyone would describe as the community. Like nobody's talking to Jeff Holiday right now. Kraut deleted his channel.
Yeah, what the hell happened with that? I was so in the dark because I was just like,
It was like, so there was a whole bunch of people who wanted to do a whole bunch of shady things. This is the key thing. Nobody actually ended up doing very much of anything shady, but they were all recorded because they were all retards and did something on the internet and assumed it wouldn't be recorded. And we're like, yeah, we got to do this. And it's just like, and like Jeff Holiday did, Kraut did, everyone was like, we need to, find out who these people are. We need to get them off the internet. We need to stop them speaking, and basically doing exactly what you would expect someone to do from, the very, very SJW left, right?
yeah,
but it was,
damn it.
Instead, it was the people who have been shit-talking them for years.
I was actually talking with Roaming about this on Friday, and how I feel like at the start of 2017, when or towards the middle of 2017, when the left started eating their own, and we were all reveling in it because it's like, yeah, we knew they would happen eventually, and then it's now clearly happened on this side as well.
No, I disagree. It did not happen on this side. The right did not eat itself. The moderate left tried to attack the far right and completely failed at it. And
Well, I don't think that they ate themselves, but there's definitely a lot more infighting on this side as the year has gone on.
I disagree.
I don't. Okay?
There's always been a lot of infighting along the right side of the political spectrum. I mean, you take a look at. If you take a look at the disagreements among the right, it's actually a lot more interesting than any sort of discussion among the left. I mean, you always had disagreements on the right side, particularly between conservatives and libertarians. So that's where you find the most disagreement. But at the same time, you have a lot of disagreement all the time. William F. Buckley would routinely disagree with other people over at National Review. So it doesn't make any sense to say that there's just more infighting. There's always been infighting.
Speaking of that, I know that libertarians, that they don't define themselves as being on the spectrum at all, but I saw a nice video the other day of Stefan Molyneux had Adam Kokesh on his show. And Adam Kokesh was one of the first people that I watched when I started getting involved in learning about politics. So it was actually even just for me alone, it was great to see my close to my current viewpoint and what I started off with. And I gotta say it's it's good that I went away from what I started off as with the whole anarchy thing. I don't know, a lot of libertarians start off like that, but I feel much more centered now.
I don't see anything wrong with that proposition, but okay, whatever.
Let's say it's really easy to say government is bad. We should have no government. And it's a lot harder to get into a nuanced conversation about, well, this stuff works and can be made better. And that takes a lot more effort and a lot more discussion and a lot more coming to minds with other people. It's also very easy to be like, no, all corporations are bad. We should have no corporations too, which is where communism comes from. It's very easy to be very absolutist in any position and be like, this is the source of all of the problems in the world. And this is where we get things like SJWs. Feminists say it's the patriarchy. The alt-right says it's the Jews and the people of color. And, Democrats say that it's Republicans and Republicans say that it's Democrats. If you think
the actual alt-right, not what is labeled as the alt-right.
Yeah. The
actual real alt-right, not essentially what they define everyone. They call Matt alt-right. They call Dave Rubin alt-right. The actual alt-right.
The gay liberal left or libertarian. Yep. Yeah. Totally alt-right.
But yeah, before we move on, I just want to say again, if anyone's on that. Going through that, I recommend watching the Stefan Molyneux Adam Kokesh podcast from the other day. So just want to leave it at that.
What was their disagreement?
Oh, it was primarily about immigration, because Adam Kokesh is no borders except for private property borders, and Stefan Molyneux says no, that's how you get more big government. It's an hour and a half, so it's a lot to but there is some.
I can't take an hour and a half of Molyneux.
And there is some.
I find him infuriating with his just overflowing arrogance. I can't take an hour and a half of Molyneux.
That's the most entertaining part of him, though. But
it's not.
It is a doses thing.
It's really not.
Honestly,
not for me. I mean, that's just my. I have that. Sometimes it makes me where I can't watch Sticks either, because it's sometimes just the utter indignance just comes flowing through. I'm like, yeah, I can't. I'm like, I know you're smart, but
just no.
Yeah.
You'll be better again after you're wrong for a couple of times, right? When you have a couple bad videos, you'll be good again.
See, at least that's the general, to me, the problem with Molyneux is if he's wrong, he almost turns into an SJW where he starts doubling down, tripling down. It just gets into even more indignance because he knows he's wrong, but he can't admit it.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing when it comes to the whole open borders thing and bigger government. It turns out that when you have people of different races in a society, you tend to get actually a smaller welfare state, not a bigger one. Because for some reason, people just tend to support welfare states less when they see people of a different race getting them. I don't know why, but that just tends to be how it goes.
I challenge that because California, New York, and Florida kind of prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta agree with Lex on that one.
No, we're talking about individual support of welfare states.
There's no lack of support for the welfare state in any of the 3 states I just named, and those are 3 of the most multicultural states you would find. Like, this is the thing. Texas, it has a lot of Mexicans, yes, and it has a lot of people from all over the world there because Houston and Dallas and San Antonio are all very large metros with major industries and lots of industries from all over the world. Yes, but they're not. Texas isn't really multicultural.
No,
there's Texas. No. You're a Texan. You don't bring anything that like maybe.
Yeehaw!
Right? Like, you are Texan.
Hello, my fellow cowboys.
Exactly.
And
like, but
it's also quantify and Dr. Manhattan will speak to, can confirm this. When you talk New York and California, you're talking New York City, and when you say California, you're talking Los Angeles, San Francisco.
Basically,
yeah.
Like,
maybe that's the issue.
Maybe you might also talk San Jose or Santa Barbara, but basically, it's like the rest of the state does not fucking exist outside of Orange County.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you ever seen Buffalo on the TV with Buffalo Bills? I can assure you, there's not a great diversity in severe upstate New York.
I just kind of assume that once you get past Manhattan, it's like one of those video games where like they had to border you.
Crow would probably be able to give more of that because he's down in Brooklyn. But I mean, I know.
So this is the thing. I think that there is a point he's correct on, in that when you have a monoculture, it is much easier to justify a belief in government where people are willing to give over the charitable good that they want to do to that entity. So if you have and this is sort of the local government theory too, like, it works on the same principle. The people that you're giving your money to, that they share your values, so you trust them in giving out your money, and offloading that moral responsibility you feel to take care of your fellow man. And that gets, a little stretched out, and it gets diminished as you get up to the state, and then it gets even more so diminished when you get up to the federal government, and it gets really completely watered down and useless when you get to the level of like the UN doing it in world affairs, right? So I agree with him on like that as like a central theory, but I don't think that it happens where people come in from these other places and you suddenly don't want to have a welfare state, because we haven't seen that happen very much. People just flee the welfare state.
I do want to get around to talk about the UN, by the way.
Oh boy!
I think we should just pull the fuck out of the UN.
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm liking, and the whole thing is that it's a good step, but he should have taken it away further. But I liked how Trump just suddenly withdrew $285 million of funding, but there should be a lot. Should withdraw a lot more.
I think we should just completely get out of the UN. That's the best thing.
Exactly.
So this is the thing that I want out of the UN. I don't want to spend money on the UN, but I still, at the back of my mind, I have to think dollar for dollar, it is probably our best diplomatic spending that we do, just because we keep so much of the world's diplomatic core in a place where we can probably easily monitor them. This is my thing of, I have a feeling that it is cheaper for us to have the United Nations in New York than to try to replace all the intel that we get from having that.
They can pay us back for all the shit we pay for.
That's very true. That is something we can definitely do. But we can't walk away from the UN if we want them to pay for things.
We could just stop protecting them and let them protect themselves, and then lo and behold, they'll have to learn the true consequences of having a giant nanny state, as they have to protect their own countries.
Poland seems to want to protect its own country, though.
Good for Poland.
Yeah, good for Poland. I mean, fortunately, the United States is invasion-proof.
Well, what Poland wants to protect themselves from is anyone is immigration flooding their borders, and they're doing a damn good job of it. And
did they already have a point in their life where they were afraid of Germany coming down on them? Because I think they're having that point again right now. Is that not correct?
Yes, they were correctly worried about that. And the world said, meh.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple world wars. So we actually did that dance twice. And and then it was with Russia again. And again, everyone said, meh. And again, we're back at this point where they're like, we have people trying to invade our country. And most of the Western world is like, meh. Except this time we have a president who is both he's isolationist, but he is willing to exert American influence wherein he thinks it's appropriate. So it's a very selective isolationism, I guess. It's a Trump.
Well, I think he has, in the simplest thing, I think if he feels that someone appreciates and has our backs, he will have theirs. And and it didn't hurt that when he went to Poland, they were, they rolled out the red carpet and
they just fucking,
they were, so it's like at the base thing, they played to his ego, and it's like, okay, great.
Israel
play
made
their ego, and they'll, that's what it works. I mean, it's really not that complicated of a formula, with no matter what people think with Trump.
Israel made Trump station for their trains.
They did?
Really?
They decided to.
I mean,
that's awesome.
It's brilliant. I mean, you want him to back you. Play to
his ego, yeah.
I mean, Obama, you could just guilt him in, into supporting you by making him think, oh, well, you heard us 400 years ago. Freaking Trump.
I'm not sure that's a positive. That's like
I'm not saying whether it's positive or negative. I'm just saying this is how it works, and it's definitely showing that's how it works. You play to his ego. I mean, and he's not a complete buffoon, no matter what people might want to think. But if you show you're willing to work with him and add that, I mean, you name a train station after him. Come on, that's genius. It's freaking genius.
So yeah, I mean, I guess this is a good time to talk about like the Trump in retrospect, because his first year is pretty much over. And how's he done so far? Better than Bush, right? Like, I'm pretty happy with him.
Let me sum up the November after the election. Right after the election, I met with a friend of mine who lives in Massachusetts. If anyone knows Massachusetts, it's almost a state requirement that you be a complete liberal. It's like New York City or Hollywood,
or California.
Hollywood-ish area, not all of California.
I'm convinced that Hollywood is literally just a portal to hell that happens to be within the borders of California.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, and I, we got briefly talking about it, and I said, I'm like, so what? I said, what's your worst case scenario here? I'm like, do you expect the world to come to an end? And he looked at me straight dead. Yes.
Oh my God.
So I looked straight back at him. I said, so you're telling me then, if the world doesn't come to an end, you're going to consider him a successful president? And he didn't know what to say. So in that aspect, I'm like, and I would be willing to bet that he wasn't the only person on the left that had that expectation.
Of course he wasn't.
So to me, I mean, if you take apart all their yelling and screaming, I'm with Lex. I'm like, I mean, financially, we're doing better than we ever have. Unemployment's down. Housing ownership is up.
Dow Jones is up 5.
I mean, it's like, okay.
Hold on. The best stat that nobody quotes is that wages are increasing again.
Yeah.
101 companies are offering bonuses because of the tax cut. 101.
Yeah.
And the Dow Jones is up $5.5 from 1 year ago.
And of course, the left is just flipping their shit, trying to paint this as a bad thing.
Now, I mean, of course, we do know that he had, his little. I personally wish he would put the Twitter down. I know.
I don't. It's fucking.
I know. It's awesome.
I know people love it. I think he should. I wish he would put it down sometimes. But I agree. I think overall, I'm like, one of the things that I think has been good is he stopped the, he seems to want to stop the kicking the can down the road mentality of previous presidents when it comes to difficult situations. he takes them head on.
Honestly, if he decides to cut, I know he's not going to cut military spending. I would hope I would have hoped he would, but hey, whatever. We can't get everything. But if he cuts Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, if he cuts those 3 programs, which are the things that are bankrupting our country, then I would say that would make him a super ballsy president, just the most Herculean, brass-balled president in modern history. If he actually did that. That'd be beautiful.
I mean, we'll see how the midterms go. Like we're sort of past the period where Trump can really do big monumental things with that need congressional help, right? Because Congress is about to get into election season, and it's going to be a pretty hard period for the Republicans. Even though the map favors them heavily, just politically, they have to deal with Trump and the party and a media that is almost killing themselves, going balls to the walls against them. And so, this might be the last election cycle where we see the mainstream media being a huge factor in it, because they may actually kill themselves trying to get the Republicans out of Congress. I'd be okay with that. But, because it's probably still going to fail, because this is literally the worst election cycle possible. The competitive seats where Democrats are pouring money into are really right-leaning areas for the most part. The Senate seats, this is 6 years after Obama took the Senate, right? So all these seats are Democrat seats. They won Alabama, which was huge, but it's going to not be enough.
Hell, I mean,
burning down around him, man.
They won Alabama because they didn't win Alabama. Roy Moore lost Alabama.
But
Alabama was essentially. I mean,
if they can do that 6 more times.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
Yeah,
I think Alabama. I think Alabama is no matter what they want to say. I think it was. I mean, it was just kind of a perfect storm anomaly. I don't think it'll. I don't think they can.
I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be tough, but I think there is an entire group of people who are very, very dedicated to making that happen and have the ability and the will, and they have already compromised the morals of everyone they need to the point where they can convince them to help. So, that's the thing. At the end of the day, if they can find the dirt, if they can make the charges, if they can manufacture the scandals against enough people, and if they can paint the whole party with this broad brush, and it's led by Trump, and if they can create that narrative, and if they all push it and all sell it, it might work this time one more time. And I think that's the end of it, because that would be the death knell of mainstream media when post-election, when half those people still win, when they aren't devils incarnate, when Trump then turns around and starts working with the Democrats, and then they all have to eat crow and say, oh, well, I guess he is a decent guy, because they're not going to get enough to actually impeach him. They got to get 60 for that to get him out of office. They have to actually take the House, which is almost an impossibility, even though all the seats are up. Just the districts.
I can just hear Rachel Maddow's future screeching, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful music to my ears. Right.
So that's the thing. If the worst case scenario for the Republican Party is that they do lose Senate control and they get a very narrow margin in the House, and then Trump has to work with the Democrats, and he will, because it's Trump. That's what he does. He's a negotiator, right?
Yeah.
And then the mainstream media gets hung out to dry, because they'll spend an entire year telling us how horrible and how epically horrible things will be with Trump, and then the Senate Democrats are going to have to be like, no, we did a good job. You should vote for more Democrats. And they're going to have to show what they did with Trump. And Trump's going to be running for re-election, probably still on an economic upswing, because unless a nuclear weapon goes off in an American city, nothing's changing.
That's what I was going to say before, is that in time, the numbers will speak for themselves. And all the stuff that the media is saying and all the silly stuff that he's saying on Twitter, no matter what you think about it, it might hurt now, but down the road, it's not going to count for anything. It won't matter. You look back at it, and you might think it's funny, or you may still think it's stupid, but it won't matter. The numbers will count.
Yeah, Twitter's awesome. As far as I'm concerned, I just want the entire system to burn down.
Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, are we really complaining because our president talks directly to the people too often and says things that other people say? Oh, he's not statesmanly. Well, congratulations. You elected a dude who talked about grabbing him by the pussy. He was never going to be a statesman, right?
Yeah.
In other words, you elected a guy.
Yeah, you elected a guy who has spent his entire life on camera So,
I'd say the only reason I would say, and it may sound where I wish he would put more of it down is like I guess I just grow tired of the screeching of the media, and if they really were able to just focus on what he's actually doing, not what he's tweeting, I think it could be. I think it just overall could lead to a little more of a feeling of at least, where it's not always doom gloom in the end of the world. Because
but that's the thing.
I think
that's why they're on the Twitter, man. That's why they always go after it.
I know. I understand. It's just I get tired of it. Just hearing it all the time. It's just.
This is why I don't watch news. I keep telling people don't watch news.
I don't watch the news, but it's just a lot of times you just can't escape it. Where just because of Twitter, because of YouTube.
Exactly. No, you got 6 YouTube videos in your subscription feed every day about what the media's reaction to Trump's tweet, and you're just watching
they're doing news stories on what drinking 14 sodas a day does to you.
It's not
really
good.
This is the important thing that we need to be focusing on, you morons. Although I did enjoy seeing Joy Behar after she thought, when Brian Rosser reported about the Michael Flynn thing, and she got all moist down below, and then the next day.
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Think about it, Dr. Manhattan. I know you already do already. You think about Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg's moistness. You think,
man, just the meatiness.
No. I don't think it really matters at this point. It's probably like the Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny thing, where you encounter a pipe in the desert and just dust coming out.
Yeah, exactly. But I did enjoy that. I'll have to admit, but that's, and to be fair, the media, you would think that they would learn by now, because every time that we got them this time. Well, no, you don't. You got nothing. You always.
Of course, they don't learn, because they were so convinced that they were going to win that they never had any fucking reason to change their tactics. They're just like, oh well, keep doing what we're doing. That'll fix it, right?
Yeah.
When you have only one trick or one playbook or one play in the book, you have to keep doing it. And once you've convinced yourself that it can't fail, you literally can't do anything else.
Although, towards the end of the year, I don't remember her last name, but Mika actually started kind of going against the, all of these with the sexual assault allegations. She started saying that just blindly believing them is not a good thing, and that to me was something I never thought I would hear, because her and that human eunuch Joe Scarborough, they're always on board with the believe, but she seemed to be. So I mean, maybe there could be some changing in some of these people.
Don't worry, I'm sure there's going to be a Me Too tweet about her soon.
Probably. I do admit I enjoyed, every person, that you see that enjoys the virtue signaling. I'm like, okay, TikTok until your accusation comes through.
Oh God, how long did it take for the hashtag Me Too stuff to fizzle out? Because I feel like that was there for a week and then just kaput.
Until Ben Shapiro used it.
It was about a month and a half, because we were talking about it like every week for a while, and then New Year's came and we sort of got a break, and it might pick back up again, but I feel like at this point it's sort of run its course. It's at a certain point, if you feel like you've got a claim you can make, you're going to make it, right?
I guess so. Oh man,
Lex molested me 27 years ago.
Wait 25 more years for it to pick up.
Yeah. He molested me 38 years ago. I wasn't born then, but don't worry about the details.
It was a stupid year, and I loved it.
We just finished earlier talking about the jobs. What about Apple bringing in $200 billion from overseas back into the country?
Oh yeah, the territorial tax system changed. Yeah, it used to be you got taxed twice.
No, I haven't heard about that.
Yeah. Basically, it used to be that if you earn money abroad, then it would get taxed there, and it would also get taxed here when you bring the money back. So you got taxed twice. But now they changed that, so it's no longer the case. So companies are just flooding money into the country to increase capital investment.
They get basically a one-time deal. Is how they're phrasing it, because supposedly they had to do it as a sunsetted thing, otherwise it would have broken the 10-year rule. They can't.
I'm okay with a one-time $200 billion transfer.
So this is the thing. One of the big reasons for going to a national sales tax would have been that it would eliminate this problem indefinitely. But the problem is that when you forecast it out, the loss of revenue on this is so big that everyone's like, "Ooh, we can't create that much of a deficit 10 years from now that we care about." So it's a dumb thing. But it's one of those things that they can just renew every year, hopefully. But I don't know. They would definitely won't be a 200 billion reimportation every year. But yeah, it's going to be huge that Apple now has a really big bank account to go say, "Hey, we want to go buy Netflix or something." I don't know if that's like a huge positive, but
Basically,
the cult of I does not need more power in this country. People already blindly follow that stupid product.
We'll see.
$1,000 for a phone—that's ridiculous.
It's good the money is at least probably coming back.
Yes, I'm happy it's back in the States, and but still, I mean, it's just I'm very anti-I.
It offsets a lot of that trade deficit that we have going on because
I have a question. Speaking of Netflix, because I don't know if we got a chance to talk about the net neutrality thing. But before we get into that,
you mean the end of the world?
Are phones included in the net neutrality thing? Like,
sort of.
They're still gonna work the same, right? Like,
nothing is fundamentally going to change until ISPs start doing funky stuff, and at which point they're required to disclose or face FTC rules.
Nothing is going to. I'm sorry, I don't think anything will change because
the only thing that might change quickly is that you may start getting a lot more like this free with your cell phone service from this company that we own. But you're already seeing that with like HBO.
Well, yeah, you already see that. Yeah, like there's a couple of I forget one of them, but there's already a
HBO and Netflix right now. If you go T-Mobile or AT&T, you get one of those channels for free for the term of your contract.
Yeah, and then one of them doesn't count against your streaming. Your data cap. So it's already. So it's already happening.
Yeah, cell phones already kind of had an exclusion because wireless bandwidth is a limited resource that you can't just create more of, right? That was the argument. And cell phone operators got that win because, hey, we actually can't just lay more line, right? Like we can't just create new competitors. We only have X amount of wireless bandwidth to deal with. And that's federal regulations, and that is also just the constraints of physical space. So I don't know. I'm okay with the rules changes so far. I haven't seen anything come out of it. I was really happy to see that after the FCC got done with it, everyone was like, hey, wait a minute. Okay, maybe there is two sides to this argument. So I stopped feeling like I was the only person in the universe who thought this was a good idea.
Although, I don't know if you saw the FCC chairman's video.
I did.
Oh my God, that was...
I only ever saw pictures.
Whoo!
The thing is, though, it wasn't that much cringier than anything else that any other politician or like regulatory like that is DC trying to connect to youth. Like that is what it always looks like. It's just way cringier when nobody puts a gloss over it and like tries to be excited about it.
You have to be hip with the youth.
Right.
You got to be one of those crazy cool kids.
Pokemon Go to the polls and that kind of shit.
I'm just chilling here in Cedar Rapids.
Right? When old people try to like be hip and like
even using the word hip. Even that is just counterproductive.
Right? No, here's that we would only say try to be hip in this context, or it is this incredibly old person doing something lame, right? Like it doesn't even. There's no good connotation to that word anymore, anyway.
Hello, fellow kids. I have my skateboard and my backwards cap. Hello. Have you heard of the fidget spinner?
God.
He had fidget spinners in his thing too, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Apparently, Mark had a split-second blackout. Come back to us, buddy. Come back.
Please don't leave me.
Ah!
You're just too hip for him.
We were just getting the good part about fidget spinners.
Yeah, we were too hip.
Oh, shit.
But still, basically, if you take a look at what's really causing the problem, it's local governments that are basically blocking the installation of new ISPs. It's ridiculous.
Somewhat. There's definitely an entrenchment problem going on, and net neutrality made that worse. Because so long as that you were required to offer a minimum acceptable service to everyone, then everyone would just kind of deal with it, and there was no way to be a better competitor. Engadget weirdly had a story from a small ISP in my neighborhood that I am desperately trying to convince to bring fiber to my house. And he was like, yeah, actually net neutrality costs me like a couple of grand every year in compliance costs, and I kind of wish Comcast would be dicks because it would really be good for my business, and I could grow exponentially if Comcast turned into a really bad company. But I still support net neutrality. He was like really quick to make sure they had that big block quote in there where he said, I still support net neutrality even though it costs me money and is bad for my business. And I'm like, dude, like, you're dumb. Like, yeah, you believe in net neutrality. You're always going to offer net neutrality. Cool. How about you be the fucking dominant internet provider in the area instead of Comcast? But it'll never be that way because, and as he said it, he's like, it's really hard getting people to switch internet because it's just something you don't want to change if it's good enough.
No, it's basically because of the fact that local governments put in place these things called right-of-way fees, where in order to get rights of way, in order to lay down wire in the first place, you have to go through a bunch of bureaucracy. It's ridiculous.
This is true. Oregon's actually better than most places on that. We have.
Well, you can't pump your own fucking gas, apparently.
We actually cannot. Only rural Oregon can do that.
I actually know someone from Oregon who would always pump his own gas. I mean, he just told the gas station attendant to fuck off, and basically he's basically intimidating enough to basically get him to walk away.
It was a pretty big fine to do that. So I can't imagine people actually walking away. Plus, like, here's the thing: pumping your own gas is exceptionally overrated.
Believe me, I completely agree with you. That is highly overrated.
It's overrated, but if you don't know not to put the green gas in your...
You can't. Diesel handles are bigger than gasoline. The only way you can fuck this up is going the other way around. If you own a diesel engine and put gasoline in your tank, I don't feel that bad for you.
Yeah, right.
But you can't do it the other way around. It doesn't work.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's flipping out over that. All my friends would probably be like, so you can pump your own gas. I'm like, actually, no, I can't. I would have to drive an hour and a half through Oregon, or I can go 15 minutes and go across the bridge to Washington. But yeah, in none of the counties that I drive in, or any of them that I will drive in, can I pump my own gas.
And Mark,
that is so retarded. It's just protectionist bullshit.
A little bit.
Oh, gas. Ridiculous.
Of course, we say this, and how many times do you see, photographs of people that, drive away with the frickin' hose still attached to their goddamn car?
Okay, come on. How common is that, really?
Common enough that there's a.
If it happens once, it's too common. Because if you're that stupid, happening once, it's too much.
Oh my
so
God.
Here's the thing: there's actually a lot of good reasons why Oregon never actually changed its laws to allow people to pump their own gas. One of them was we had a pretty big proposition measure to actually do it when I was younger, like in elementary school, and then that was, of course, like the year that we actually had a gas station blow up because somebody was a fucking retard. And so that pretty narrowly failed and then didn't come back up again. But a lot of times people would talk about it, would be like, well, it would save you money at the pump. It's like, well, yeah, but for most of the time, Oregon is pretty cheap relative to its neighbors. We have less gas taxes than Washington and California, and most people aren't driving to Idaho for their gas. So nobody was in a huge hurry to be like, oh, we can save 10 cents a gallon. We're already pretty cheap, and we're not exactly super car friendly here anyways, so fuck it. It's not going to help. Also, it's cold and wet here for 9 months.
No. Sales tax.
Oh yeah, we have no sales tax too. So yeah.
Yo, Ven, you sound like you're getting a call from a fax machine.
I think you mean to say he sounds like a fax machine and that he has become one. Because I was like, the printer's going to kill me.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, doctor.
Hello, Veen.
Fax off.
Okay, so basically the bottom line is these laws are stupid. I think it should be abolished.
Yeah, huh?
I think that most laws are stupid.
True.
Actually.
But there's some reasoning behind Oregon's gas and New Jersey. By the way, that's the other thing everyone forgets. New Jersey still does not allow you to pump your gas either, by the way.
Because New Jersey's retarded.
Yeah, no, I gotta learn.
Hey, stupid laws for stupid people.
And New Jersey is one of those states that never respected the Constitution, so I don't really think that people should respect these gas laws anyway. Just pump your own fucking gas.
Why? This is my thing. Like, why do all these people want to pump? Like, I've lived in California and Louisiana, places where I had to pump my own gas. There was no advantage to this. Like, I didn't get out of the pump particularly any faster. And like in Oregon, it's shitty weather 9 months out of the year. I'm perfectly happy to have a dude in a parka freaking pumping my gas.
Yeah, and that guy's already standing. You're like sitting down. You gotta like get out of the car.
Right?
Oh yeah, it's so much work.
It's not so much work. It's just like it's worthwhile. And this is the thing. Once you get rid of the requirement, like nobody does that. I'm not saying I'm voting to keep the gas laws. Like I've definitely voted to allow people to pump their own gas, even though it wasn't helping me out. But then when it comes to time to vote, I'll vote to do it to the rest of the state too. But it'll be like there's gonna be that one rainy day, and I'm gonna be like, "Fuck, I really should have voted no on that."
Don't gas stations have a roof?
The next vote depends on the weather that day.
Dude,
Yo,
like,
all I'm saying is
goes sideways.
All I'm saying is if you have to pump your own gas, it should be a little bit cheaper. That's all I'm saying.
It will be cheaper. You have to pay some stupid shit to pump other people's gas.
Across the border in New York, it's like 30 cents a gallon more expensive than it is here.
Everything's more expensive in New York.
Yeah, I mean,
there's really
where
not
I am
much
here,
impact
Mark,
on gas.
there are some stations that have both, and it usually is more expensive to have, what they call full service, essentially having someone pump it for you. So yeah, it actually is. And don't go based on New York City prices because that's
New York State.
Well,
yeah, it is more expensive in New York. It's everything is.
Yeah, and also New York State banned fracking, so that just reminded me that they also are very anti. They tend to be very anti-oil in general, so that probably has something to do with it.
All right then.
Yeah.
Oh man,
State.
I'm trying to think back on. Does anybody here have a particular 2017 memory of stupid that they'd like to share?
Oh yes, pulling out the Paris Climate Accord thing. Was that 2017? I think. Yeah, it was. People saying that the world's gonna end, everything's gonna die. So basically, it's just another one of those apocalyptic things. Just like net neutrality was supposed to end the world, and the tax plan was supposed to end the world, and Trump was supposed to end the world, and
Yo, did you guys talk about the button yet? The big button that works.
Oh, the big button that works. Oh yeah. Trump has a very big button.
He has a very nice big button.
More big button. It's the best.
It's the best. We have the best buttons. We have much better buttons than the North Koreans.
Believe me.
And he's always been trying nice too, guys.
Yeah. Believe me, everybody. We have the best buttons.
What's the deal going on right now? Aren't they like talking about the Olympics between North and South Korea or something? Like what?
Well,
what Olympics? Their people are going to die if they move at all.
North Korea is talking to South Korea, so that's progress.
That's what's gonna happen though. They're gonna go to the Olympics. North Korea's gonna lose, and then they're gonna kill their people for losing, and then we're gonna bomb them.
Yeah, I heard apparently they detonated a bomb or maybe not detonated, but one of their own missiles hit a major city,
Yeah,
and there might have been detonation. I don't remember.
a missile destroyed some stuff in North Korea. They basically attacked themselves by accident.
Yeah.
It was funny.
This
So Lex, you're gonna say something?
the leading threat of our time. But here's the thing, like at the end of the day, I think Trump handles North Korea exactly how he thinks they should be, and he might be right. Him responding to Kim Jong-un is exactly what Kim Jong-un wants. He wants the attention of the world leaders, right? He wants interaction with them on an interpersonal level. And you know what? Trump engages him pretty much as an equal. He shit talks him.
Well, exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. I was just going to say, Kim Jong. He takes, yeah. He does the shit talking, but he takes him seriously. And it's like, okay, it again. Believe it or not, it plays to the ego. It plays to Kim Jong-un's ego, where he's like, "That's right. Even though there's no way in hell we can actually accurately send a missile anywhere. They think we could, or at least he acts like we could, and we get treated like we're not some kind of joke."
I think it's even deeper than that. It's that Trump engages with him as a world leader, whereas previous administrations were literally too afraid to even talk with him about anything serious unless he held a gun to their head. And he doesn't actually have to do that. He gets less attention from Trump when he does really stupid things, because that's when the Defense Department and the State Department step in and start doing stuff. When it's just tweets, they're basically the same. They both run a country. And that's got to be a good feeling for him. And maybe that'll keep him from doing stupid things.
Honestly, I don't think that it's doing he's just doing stupid things by accident. I think he's probably doing it on purpose, just to basically try to get an image going that he's just some bumbling buffoon. And that's what people want to think. But this guy's not funny. Even if people think he's...
Hold on, Trump or Korea?
Kim Jong. Basically, North Korea's dictator is a clown, but he's a clown in the sense that the Joker's a clown. You see the clown in front of you, and you think it's funny and you think it's silly, but you don't see the bodies behind him. This guy's not a joke. So North Korea really isn't funny. As much as we might like the hijinks and Three Stooges, he missed the missile again. Whoa! It's not funny. This guy is just an absolute demented psychopath.
Yeah, but I don't think he's like a savant at it. I think he's just a psychopath.
No. These people are actually very competent when it comes to control. Okay, they have all sorts of contingencies. I mean, if you take a look,
this is the thing. They have totalitarian control, but quite literally, when that shield cracks, it's going to crash very, very hard. That's generally what happens. Having firm control of your country is not necessarily the end all be all of proving that they're intelligent people.
No, the way that they keep control though is absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that these people lasted this long shows that they're not stupid. I mean, I highly suggest that you read Dear Reader by.
I think it has more to do with the level of they're willing to do things that most people are not. The statistic level ingrained into their culture, especially at the leadership level, is off the charts. And they've got a country perpetually in this state. And this is the thing. This is where they stay in power, mostly because nobody is willing to go take that on. And I'm cool with that because it's not our job. And I don't know how you do that in a responsible way. At the end of the day, if the United States invaded North Korea, it would be a fucking disaster. South Koreans, if they invade, it's a disaster. If China invades, it's a humanitarian disaster. There's no good outcome there. It's just going to be a bunch of people who are completely brainwashed and are completely ape shit to protect themselves because they believe all of these people are out to devour them physically and are going to be even worse than the guy that they are deathly afraid of. That's a level of control that it's pretty extreme. But it's not unique. It's not like they created these mechanics. They just took a whole bunch of the worst ones that they could find, and they apply all of them.
No, if you want to see the Professor Moriarty kind of shit that they do, I highly suggest that you read Dear Reader, the unauthorized autobiography of Kim Jong-il. by Michael Malice. Michael Malice has a lot of stuff on YouTube you can watch where he gives lectures. And seriously, North Korea, if you take a look at the details of North Korea's regime, it is absolutely insane. So once again, Michael Malice, look him up. He's got a lot of stuff to say about North Korea and exactly what they do to keep control, what they do. For example, you have a weekly ritual where you have to basically it's basically like confession at church, where you have to confess your sins, and then other people also have to point out what you did wrong too. And so basically everyone's looking out against each other to try to rat each other out, and everything that they do has a purpose. So it's absolutely insane. If you take a look at all the stuff that they do, it's crazy. So this guy is not
it
stupid.
all has a purpose, but that's the thing. None of that's not unique to North Korea. Like, that has been a doctrine of religions. It was in communism. It was in half a dozen Eastern Bloc countries. Like, this is not new. Or it was in Nazi Germany too. Like, it was in Japan even during the imperial feudal era. Like, this is something that happens repeatedly. Getting other people to look after each other is a fundamental part of a totalitarian regime. It's not revolutionary. It's not unique.
I know it's not revolutionary, but I'm just saying, if you take a look at all the other stuff that they do too, it's absolutely insane. Just how much of a lockdown they have on this country. It's just insane.
I think that's just a matter of time and perseverance. Like, they're sadistic about it, and they're impressive in the way they've applied it, and that they can maintain it in that way. But again, it's a self-reinforcing thing. They keep so much of that country isolated and indoctrinated into this is okay. It really shows you, like, the moral relativism people can get into if they're brought up in this kind of a system. And now we're 3 generations of leadership deep. And that's 3 to 4 generations who've lived through this. There is nobody alive in that country left who remembers anything other than the Kim Jong dynasty, right? So everything they've been doing, and they started from that communist space, so they learned from China and the USSR how to run this totalitarian regime, and they've just been refining that decade after decade. And they've kept all technological improvement, all the communication locked down. They never allowed any of that to creep in the way the USSR did, the way China did. Like, North Korea is what would have happened to China had Nixon not gotten them to open up, I think, in the long term. Legitimately, they would have had to keep the same level of control that North Korea did, but instead they took that other switch in the road. And instead we now have China's still kind of crazy and creepy humanitarian issues, but much more tolerable, something you can negotiate with. People who have to deal with the reality that their people are going to see the outside world, and so they have to prepare for that. North Korea is not prepared for that. And the only way they can deal with it is that they have to have their entire country basically brainwashed to the point where they won't believe the outside world, even if they do see it. And that is powerful, but it's not new.
Yeah.
Like, the dedication level, that's the word I'm looking for. They are dedicated to the concepts of a totalitarian brainwashing. And it's scary how well they've done it. But it is just a complete dedication to it. I don't think it's that they're doing anything particularly special, or that they're developing some new art of this. Like, nobody's going to study their empire, their regime as like a successful model of something that they want to replicate, right? Even the worst of the worst, they've pigeonholed themselves into this thing that they have to keep perpetuating, because they know that if they fail to perpetuate it, their head is on a pike. Because the minute their country even realizes a bit that they have an alternative to what's going on, that fucker's dead. And so is everyone around him and his entire family.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, which I'd be okay with.
I'd be okay with them killing him too.
Right?
Yep.
There'd be not a single tear shed worldwide on that day.
Just like, good. Yep.
Yep, he's gone. Delightful. Fantabulous.
Delightful.
I feel bad I missed out on the last 5 minutes.
It's
Horrible
fine.
host.
We have 2-degree weather and my internet just keeps going out, but only for a split second, just enough to disconnect my internet.
Just beep.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Your internet is freezing.
No, it's
Literally?
Can you freeze, I don't know, frequency, whatever the fuck internet is?
I have that
Do
power.
that?
Oh no. Well, what are you using? You're using cable?
Wi-Fi.
This is what net
2.
neutrality warned us of. Read.
Because depending on the technology, if you have cold enough temperatures, it doesn't really work very well.
Well, it's just like it's like my whole electricity, like a mini blackout.
Oh, okay.
Probably just too much draw.
It's not just your internet; it's everything. Okay.
Probably just too much draw on the grid. People turning on space heaters and stuff.
Yeah,
Could be.
It happens in the first few when you get some really hot days in summer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been this cold weather has been like the best. Nah, it's too cold to do anything at all outside. It's like been dipping below 0.
Damn.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like negative like 18 Celsius or something.
Damn.
What's that in like freedom units though?
Freedom units?
Freedom units, yes.
Freedom units.
It's about -1 or something.
Thank you.
Freedom units.
Freedom units.
Fahrenheit sucks. Celsius is better.
It does.
Mark
suck.
has run out of freedom.
Oh, but hey, if we switch over to how recreational outrage is like the new American pastime, we need to like switch over to Celsius so that like we can sound like it's even colder than it really is. Right? It's like it's -20 rather than just be like, oh, it's 0. Be like, oh, it's negative whatever, and it'll sound like we have a lot more to complain about.
Yeah, but the problem is then like the numbers don't go as high for global warming, and I'm sorry, like, so here's the thing. Fahrenheit is a really good measurement gauge for like casual temperatures. So like when you describe it, you never have to do like point anything to accurately tell someone what the weather is like. 72 degrees is comfortable for everybody. And like ±2, you're awesome, right? Like 70 to 74, you're great. But like you gotta put a decimal point in there if you're talking about Celsius.
What's wrong with that?
It's more words to describe the same thing. Like Fahrenheit is a
approximate. 1 degree Celsius ain't really all that much. I mean, come on. It's about what 1.8 Fahrenheit. So if you round it, it's not really that bad. I mean, come on.
You know what? Every time you see a weather forecast, there's a decimal point in there. So it is a bad scale for what we use temperature ratings for. This is the thing. It turns out to be great when you get to extremes, because extremes are pretty rare. But day-to-day usage, Fahrenheit is pretty awesome. And here's the thing: if you want to be a purist about it, fucking go Kelvin, bitch.
I was just saying, I'm glad we don't do that at least.
God.
Well, no, Celsius is good. I mean, 0 is freezing. 100's boiling.
No.
Water.
0 and 100. That's the thing. Only at frigging 0 altitude and at
standard temperature. Standard temperature and pressure.
Yeah. So no, that's if you're gonna be like, no, we're gonna be absolutist, just go Kelvin. Like there's no reason not to.
Can't break bread with Kelvinites. Can't do it.
And what's wrong with Kelvin? Kelvin's pretty good.
It's a guy's name. That's why.
So's every other.
How would you like to measure temperature in stands? Like,
I'd rather.
It's Kelvin. It's Kelvin, not Kevin. Like.
Well, we measure power in watts. I mean, James Watt, the father of the steam engine in the Industrial Revolution.
I like that Jay Fry's in the chat saying freedom units for the win. Thank you, Jay Fry.
Oh well,
and let's get something very clear. Everyone would love to measure temperature in units of stand. All right, let's not act like that's not.
Hey, it's one syllable, so that's pretty good.
That's right.
Fahrenheit.
It's all part of Stanism.
That's right. Bring it on, Stanism. I'm all for that.
All right. Anything else about 2017? Let me think. What was it about 2017? It was pretty good. I mean, by global metrics of economic development.
Honestly, it was a good year, guys.
It was.
Anything personal, though?
No.
Anything personal?
We still have a Nazi Cheeto in office, so it was a horrible year. Media tells me so.
Nazi. Anything personal? Let me think. Well, I'm done with my degree, so that's good, I guess. Yeah.
I'm dating this really cool chick now, and that was out of nowhere. It's like, what?
I'm not. But I went to a couple of CrossFit things for work because, like, to get more involved, they see that you're participating more, which is good. And CrossFit's no joke. You think you could do something for like 15 minutes? If you haven't done anything in like a year with your body, you can't.
You're just like,
Yeah, and I used to work out in like high school, but that was like 5 years ago. And when we tried pushing the sled across this floor.
Fuck, that's gonna be 6 years for me. Weird.
I just do squats and pull-ups and push-ups and put weights in my backpack. And something that special. And go for a walk. You know, walks are good.
Then we play football afterwards. But just catch, pretty much.
CrossFit is weird. I don't really like it.
Ryan said he joined the server, so I think that should be the highlight of your guys' year. No, Ryan, because you're never on the fucking show.
That's like the low light or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just because he's
depressing,
not
man.
in the show doesn't mean he's not in the show.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Just you fell over on that so quickly. Thank you.
He's like, I tried. I failed. It's okay.
Okay, let's see what else was in terms of politics. I think that Kentucky is actually the first abortion clinic-free state in the union now.
Huh.
That's actually pretty interesting.
That makes sense.
Nope.
No, that makes no sense to me at all.
What do you mean makes no
Or am I
sense?
thinking Mississippi? Fuck. Which one's the more Bible thumping?
Mississippi.
Mississippi would be by far. I mean,
Yeah,
No.
Kentucky's just low enough population with low enough minority community and low enough friggin' population density. That's what I'm looking for. Here's the thing: Mississippi will never not have abortion clinics in one form or another, just because there are a lot of black people there, and that's what Planned Parenthood goes for. So,
oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. You know, I noticed that whenever we talk about blacks in America, people like to talk about inner cities, man. You know, whenever we see the pity movies, I really hate those things when you put minorities in, and they basically try to make a pity fest for us, and it's just ridiculous. But the bottom line is that whenever we see these movies that are just these struggle movies about the black struggle, it's always something in Detroit or Baltimore. People don't know that most blacks live in the South.
You have to put yourself out of your own experiences to understand someone else's plight, okay?
But
I'm not even white. I mean, what the fuck?
No, but that's another thing. Just like psychologically, like when people try to like get pity from you, like you're watching a movie, you're making a transition from your own experience to the movie, and that's jarring. But like there are people whose lives like objectively aren't up to par with someone else's, but like that's what they know. It's not like they're every day like, oh, my life is shit. Like that's just their life. They're going on with their day. It might not be as good, but it's not like they're like every day like feeling bad for themselves.
I know, but whenever we see these movies, it's always some black guy in some northern city. But people keep saying inner cities. What we're gonna do about the inner cities? Most blacks live in the South. Most blacks in America live in 10 states. Okay, so let's be real here. And those states are in the South.
I mean, they still live in larger cities though too, like New Orleans, Atlanta.
I know, but still, when we keep hearing about Detroit, man, no one ever says, what are we gonna do about blacks in Mississippi? It's always, what about blacks in Baltimore? Really? It just goes to show that Democrats don't actually give a shit about blacks. It's just about politics. You never see them say,
if you do anything for blacks in Mississippi, though, you're pretty much just doing it for poor people in Mississippi. Because like anything you do to target one of those, you're pretty much going to be targeting the other one. There's no real rational answer for it, right? But you can definitely delineate inner city blacks because people of color who live in a city are generally poorer than white people who live in a city. Like that's just the demographic breakdown of it. So it's a really easy way for them to virtue signal that when they talk about the inner city, they're talking about poor black people.
Yeah, I guess.
Like a redneck dude in Mississippi, like you might assume I'm talking about a white guy, but if like anyone who's ever lived down there knows, nope, I can just span the gamut. You can be the blackest dude you've ever met. It can be the whitest dude you've ever met. It could be Latino. It could be Asians. Vietnamese dudes in New Orleans are redneck as fuck. Like,
Yeah, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people really don't know that. I mean, whenever you talk about how the South is takes more from the federal government than they give in, they don't realize that that's because of blacks. You know, they don't realize that Mississippi, for instance, is the blackest state in the union. If you take a look at the portion of the population that's black, it's what 34% black in Mississippi. So
Sounds about right.
yeah, so they're the blackest state in the union.
It's okay. But the Democrats want to take away all their money. They don't want them to. They don't want Mississippi getting all that cash. It needs to go to New York.
I have another bit of personal news.
Yeah, what?
And I grew up like raised against credit cards, and I always thought I would never get one, but I got one. Well, I didn't get it yet; it's in the mail. But
Oh shit!
Oh, you better be careful with those things, man.
Here's the thing, though. I am so stingy with like my money. Like I don't even want to. Like I'm paying off my student loans in like a way where, like, I'm paying off the ones that have slightly higher interest like quicker because I don't even want to pay the extra like 0.3% interest. So I wouldn't. There's no way I'd let myself spend money I don't have.
That's what they all say at first.
Yeah,
No,
be careful
no,
with this credit card. The credit cards.
Totally did not say that. I totally did not say that. I racked up pretty decent credit card bills, but I have a pretty good paying job, so that was a pretty short term thing.
Yeah, I just don't.
Well, you know what you do, Mark, is that you if you whatever you use it for, just try and pay it off that month. So it's like, hey, if I'm if normally I pay cash for something, to kind of at least build up a little bit of use on it to get your credit rating up a little higher. Just use it, but then pay it off, and showing that you make regular on-time payments will always help your it'll
basically just
go up.
Just buy groceries once per month with it and do nothing else with that credit card. Okay, just buy groceries once per month with that credit card. Nothing else. Pay it off every month, and then you'll build up some credit score.
And gas.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Whatever it is, if it was something you're like,
No
okay, I know I
groceries.
can pay it off. Just buy it. and
Just
then
gas.
pay it off.
Just do gas, nothing else. Okay, that's my philosophy with credit cards. Only use it for one thing, just one single thing, and then pay it off. Because that's the only thing a credit card is good for. Just building up some good credit score. That's really all it's good for.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I got it. Because once I pay off my student loans, I stop building up credit. And this is like the last 2-3 months has been like me kind of like jumping into like being more of an adult because I've been kind of like sheltered, I guess, or whatever.
Well, what's adult about getting into debt?
I mean, I never got into debt when I was 5 years old, so this is kind of an adult thing I have to watch out for.
Yeah, my dad always told me if you can't afford to buy it in cash, you can't afford it, to just avoid it. So that's what I do.
Well,
It's a good policy. I like it.
I kind of want to have a Rovertime extra just on like adulting.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my God, I'm so glad it's not just me and my girlfriend who use that as a verb.
Lots of people use it as a verb.
Okay.
It's the latest millennial thing. It's
I didn't know. I didn't know.
I know it's weird. It's the hipster.
How very
thing.
millennial of you, Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, well.
Oh yeah, he's so millennial.
How very millennial and SJW of you.
Well, yeah,
We knew California would get into your brain eventually.
I'm just shocked he has a brain.
Yeah, fuck you, dude.
Mark, you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, we'll talk. I want to do some Rovertime extras this year. That's
oh, for sure.
it's a resolution. Also, the resolution is to try to, whenever we talk about a topic here, I want to like explain it objectively first and then jump. Like I like to try to improve on this channel. So, but
Anyway, we gotta get freaking. We gotta get President Hanisch back here. He's been like, "When can I come back?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm not on half the time anymore."
Who?
Logan. Well, if Minding was here, he'd know who I'm talking about.
Oh.
Brendan Blair White.
well, anyway, in 2018, I'm looking forward to Stephen Crowder is actually doing like renovation and like I think he's changing location, so he'll be back in like February. But I'm looking forward to more of him and Roaming Millennial on CRTV. I want to see what that's all about. I'm excited.
Very happy for her.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Great. Yeah, she said she's gonna put an episode out on her channel. When's it gonna come out?
I think it should.
She hasn't even started filming for them yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit.
Oh Jesus.
I mean, not that long, but they're still putting together the, essentially the studio in her house. So they got to finish that up, and I'm sure it'll be announced very, she'll have it all over the place once that happens.
All right. Well, anything else, guys, or should we leave it off at that?
I think that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned. Not here exactly, but on YouTube, because in the next 20 minutes, Matt Christiansen's up with Beauty and the Beta. So see you guys next week.
Oh, by the way, pimp out. I started doing my own videos. Go check me out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got to add that to the description. I'll do that.
Please.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Peace out.
See ya.